It is my pleasure to have you here today on the Drowsy Science Channel. Tonight we'll go within, to the mysterious and expansive realm of your own mind. Along this journey, we will discover some of the most intriguing and unexpected facts that psychology has ever revealed. Hidden meanings in our memories, how we perceive the world, and the subtle patterns that influence our ideas. Some of the things we find will be subtle, like how a familiar aroma might evoke a memory from long ago. Some will astound you, like the fact that your brain can make decisions subconsciously. But each one will reveal more about the mind, more mysterious, profound, and lovely than we can ever hope to comprehend. We will rummage through an assortment of intriguing ideas and profound discoveries this evening. Peeks into realms where the passage of time can distort perception, feelings can color our perception of reality, and ideas can silently pass from one person to another. Perhaps you'll feel yourself nodding off, or at least allowing these thoughts to run in the background while you sleep. Feel free to subscribe, like, and comment below if you love these movies and want to come along on more nocturnal adventures with us. Rest assured, for the time being, that is all that is required of you. Relax your muscles, calm your thoughts, and let yourself get swept away by the awe-inspiring power of your own imagination. This is where we will start. Late at night, people tend to be more forthright. A person's mental filters and social masks may become less strict as the day progresses. The effects of exhaustion on inhibition and self-monitoring are most pronounced in the late hours of the night, when people are less likely to filter their thoughts before speaking. While this doesn't guarantee that every nighttime chat is an uncensored confession, it does suggest that less cognitive control may lead to increased candor. A number of psychological studies have found that nighttime, with its less light, more intimacy, and general feeling of the world at rest, can promote more openness and fewer inhibitions. During these moments, discussions often veer into more intimate topics, which can lead to stronger bonds. Although not everyone experiences it, many can relate to the sensation. As if the mind settles into its natural rhythm, words flow more freely when the night falls. Even the most hidden ideas emerge. Your memory becomes less trustworthy when you multitask. Although it may seem efficient, our memory is really worsened when we try to multitask. Dividing the brain's attention makes information fight for limited mental resources, which hinders its optimal performance. Because of this, people may recall fewer specific details or perhaps forget things altogether. If you're attempting to talk to a buddy and check your messages at the same time, you can wind up missing important details of their conversation. Regular multitaskers may have trouble ignoring unimportant details, which makes it tougher for them to focus, according to research. Multitasking is appealing because it makes you feel productive. Having the opportunity to focus on a single item at a time, however, allows the mind to capture life's details more vividly. Slowing down to accomplish one thing well can feel like a luxury in a world where everything is always changing, and your memory will be grateful. Another person's touch can alleviate suffering. Holding someone's hand or feeling their warmth on your shoulder might accomplish more than just easing your pain. It may alter the way your brain registers pain. By stimulating alternative neural pathways, physical touch dampens the perceived intensity of pain signals. Additionally, it causes the body to release the bonding and stress-relieving hormone oxytocin. Researchers found that couples who held hands through a difficult encounter not only felt less pain, but their brain waves also started to synchronize. It appears that physical touch has a calming effect beyond the emotional realm. It has the potential to induce a shared physiological condition that alleviates pain. A soothing touch can serve as a refuge and a grounding force in times of trouble, assuring the body that it is not alone. The power to heal can be profoundly felt in the smallest of acts. Unbeknownst to the person making the decision, scent can have an impact. Perceived odors frequently evade rational analysis, going directly to the parts of the brain that are responsible for memory and emotion. This unobtrusive pathway allows scents to subtly impact our emotions and actions. A nice ambient aroma in a store can encourage customers to make a purchase, while the aroma of cleaning supplies can motivate them to get more things in order. Smell has the power to trigger specific thoughts or connections, which is why these subtle impacts are effective. Lavender has a calming effect. Juicy citrus fruits can be a sign of vitality and new beginnings. Decisions aren't always as logical as they seem. Little sensory clues might sway us. Recognizing when the subtle language of smell is influencing our decisions can be a liberating experience if we become conscious of this impact. Feeling more rested may be possible with placebo sleep. A strange psychological quirk is that, contrary to popular belief, if you tell yourself you've slept well the night before, you'll feel and perform better the following day. Regardless of the actual amount of sleep participants got, one study found that those who reported above-average sleep quality did better on cognitive tests. This phenomenon demonstrates the power of expectation to influence both mental and physical processes. It is called placebo sleep. The brain adjusts energy levels and concentration depending on perceived rest, using belief as a shortcut. It goes without saying that real sleep is crucial to one's health. However, this phenomenon highlights the mind's remarkable capacity to impact bodily sensations. It implies that our internal narratives about our rest contribute to the quality of our sleep, in addition to the actual number of hours spent sleeping. The mental state of being stared at by another person is detectable. A lot of individuals have felt the creepy feeling of being watched, and then they turned around and saw that it was true. Even though scientists still don't know for sure, some evidence suggests that we may unconsciously respond to little signals, such as changes in shadows, peripheral vision, or even faint noises. Throughout human history, it has been crucial to know when others are looking at us, and now our brains are finally wired to recognize social attention. According to evolutionary psychologists, our predecessors' heightened sensitivity allowed them to deftly negotiate intricate social dynamics and evade predators. Whether it's a vivid impression or a more primal urge, the feeling is powerful enough to make you act before your mind can process it all. A subtle prod from our past selves. You might be surprised by what your body language says about how you're really feeling. Our nonverbal cues, such as our posture, movements, and micro-expressions, frequently disclose feelings that we may not be aware of. Some people express defensiveness with crossed arms, while others show discomfort with small changes in tone. According to psychologists, these signs can serve as an outside reflection of how we're feeling inside, and they can be obvious to other people even before we notice them. One way to learn about one's own emotions and feelings is to pay attention to one's body language. Equally important is the ability to read the nonverbal cues that people use to communicate with you. This nonverbal communication occurs simultaneously with spoken exchanges and, at times, conveys more truth than words alone. During times of introspection, visualizing your body's posture can be as revealing as listening in on your inner monologue. Odors have the power to unearth long-lost recollections. An individual's ability to smell is hardwired into their brain's memory networks. When we smell something, our noses go straight to the limbic system, which is responsible for processing emotions and long-term memories, unlike when we hear or see something. Because of this, inhaling even a waft of scent, hearing the sound of rain on pavement, or smelling a dish from one's childhood cooking can transport one back in time. No matter how far in the past the event is, the memories generated by smell tend to be quite emotive, detailed, and vivid. According to psychologists, this phenomenon is known as the P effect, after the renowned author who famously described how reading Tasting a Maylene transported him back to his boyhood. Experiencing such things serves as a reminder that our brains are more than just storage cells. They are alive with life, and the senses are like keys that can unlock doors, bringing long-lost emotions gently back into the here and now. You have power over your dream world when you lucid dream. Being conscious of your dreaming state allows you to influence your dreams in lucid dreams. Some people claim to be able to rewrite dream events as they occur, fly over mountains, or even breathe underwater while lucid dreaming. In the sleep brain regions associated with self-awareness, lucid dreams are thought to manifest, according to psychologists. These dreams occur normally, albeit for some people the dream state lasts longer. Reality checks and dream diaries are tools that some people use to train themselves. Studies have shown that enhancing one's performance in waking life can be achieved through the practice of skills in lucid dreams. But there is something more substantial that lucid dreaming offers than just practical benefits. Just a friendly reminder that our imaginations are capable of conjuring up entire realities, complete with all the trappings of reality and more. And in those realms, we play the role of both visitor and builder. Unfinished chores are more easily remembered than completed ones. Envision yourself immersed in a project, pausing only to return to a task that still needs your attention. The Zeigarnik effect describes this phenomenon in psychology. Our minds remember unfinished tasks more vividly than finished ones. We develop this mental open loop to aid in recalling the things that still require attention. However, it also has the potential to keep us up at night by rehashing old discussions or bringing to our attention any unfinished tasks. According to research, this impact happens because leaving things unfinished causes a subtle tension in the mind, which is relieved after the task is completed. I think that's why it's so relaxing to make a list of things to do. It tells the brain that the task is taken care of, even when it isn't finished yet. The way we employ this effect in our daily lives determines whether it motivates us or causes us stress. Regardless, it's a striking illustration of the unresolved matters of the mind. Your body's stress chemicals can be reduced by practicing gratitude. Gratefulness is more than a passing courtesy. It is an essential value. Chemical changes in the body are possible. People whose gratitude practices are consistent exhibit reduced levels of cortisol, a stress hormone, according to research. Brain areas associated with joy and empathy can be activated by gratitude techniques like keeping a daily journal or thinking on pleasant moments before sleep. A change in mood isn't all this is. This natural reaction has several health benefits, including a boosted immune system, better sleep, and a healthier heart. According to psychologists, being grateful helps people feel more secure and connected by redirecting their focus from what they don't have to what they do have. This way, the body can unwind after the mind has relaxed. The neurological system can feel the calming effects of a thankful thought held silently for a moment. Words that are barely audible can have a profound impact on people. The mind can respond to signals that go unnoticed at times. The term for this in the field of psychology is subliminal priming. the quick or delicate introduction of stimuli that changes ideas or behavior without being conscious of it. One study found that participants' ratings of the emotional tone of a neutral image were affected by the brief flash of positive or negative words preceding it. This effect has long captivated artists and advertisers, but its impact in reality is less dramatic than the stories make it out to be. However, it does show a crucial reality. Perception does not only pass via our conscious minds. Subconsciously, the brain is always processing information by scanning, sorting, and interpreting signals. Though they may never be verbalized, these impressions have the power to influence our choices, mold our perceptions, and evoke emotions that are difficult to put into words. Sounds that tremble on the brink of awareness. Listening to music might bring back long-forgotten memories. Listening to music from your adolescence can transport you back in time to a specific place or time, whether it's a summer afternoon at school or a long-lost friendship. Because it uses more than one brain region simultaneously, music has a special connection to memory. Brain regions involved in hearing, movement, and, most importantly, the limbic system. Lyrics, melody, and rhythm all come together to create a full setting. The initial feelings are evoked whenever that song is played again. People with Alzheimer's disease may occasionally experience flashes of insight when listening to familiar music, which can enable them to sing along to lyrics they would have trouble remembering otherwise. Some of the obstacles that time and memory loss erect can be circumvented, according to psychologists, by means of music's potent recall cues. It serves as a gentle reminder that our memories, no matter how lost they may seem, are actually just waiting for the perfect note to be released. A positive outlook can aid in the healing process. Positivity and hope are not only reassuring, but they may also have a protective effect on the body. People who have a positive outlook on life tend to heal more quickly after surgery, get better results from specific therapies, and suffer from fewer chronic diseases overall, according to research. There is mounting evidence that an optimistic outlook can mitigate negative stress reactions, promote healthful lifestyle choices, and even fortify the immune system. This isn't an excuse to pretend everything is okay or to act cheerfully when things aren't. Instead, it's about having faith that challenges can be surmounted and that opportunities lie ahead. Optimism, according to psychologists, can aid rehabilitation, medical advice adherence, and mental resilience, all of which are necessary for a full recovery. The mind's perspective can change the odds in our favor as the body quietly heals, transforming hope into an unseen medication that flows with every breath and heartbeat. Personal attacks stick in people's minds more than objective facts. Our species developed in tight-knit communities where establishing reliable relationships amongst members was crucial for avoiding harm. This could be the reason why we tend to recall rumors and tales about other people's actions rather than objective facts. Experiment subjects were better able to remember specifics regarding questionable deeds than they were concerning bodily descriptions or unrelated occurrences. The brain's social reasoning networks are activated by gossip, which draws attention and aids in knowledge storage. Although it often has negative effects, gossip can also help groups stay safe by preserving norms and preventing potential dangers. This trend manifests itself in the modern world when rumors go farther and faster than actual news. The universal fascination with other people's actions gives gossip its enduring force, whether it was passed down orally thousands of years ago or through modern media. When recognition processes in the brain malfunction, it can lead to a sensation of déjà vu, that unsettling sensation you've had just now. No one has yet figured out what déjà vu is. A popular explanation holds that it happens when there is a temporary glitch in the brain's recognition system, resulting in an erroneous perception of familiarity. Even if you don't remember the exact moment, this could occur if your new experience is quite similar to patterns in your old recollections. The temporal lobe, and particularly memory-related regions, may be affected, according to neuroimaging research. Most people experience a brief and harmless déjà vu, but it does show how the brain connects memories with the present. For a little second, it seems like reality is being mirrored. Scattered across the present is the spectre of a bygone era. Rather than being an accurate record, perception is an interpretation, and this serves as a reminder of that. Additionally, the mind's storyteller can become carried away from time to time. When anxious, people tend to speak more rapidly. We tend to talk more quickly when our anxiety levels are high. A component of this is the rise in heart rate and respiration rate caused by the body's fight or flight reaction. When the brain is prepared to act swiftly, it speeds up the process of thinking, leaving the tongue to catch up. Under the influence of adrenaline, speakers of nova may also fumble over words, speak excessively quickly, or skip pauses in order to be heard. Words may get muddled due to the effect's intensity, which can range from a little acceleration of tempo to a noticeable distortion. Because of the domino effect that people's emotions have in social settings, rapid speech can annoy others as well. It can be useful to be aware of this pattern. Deliberately speaking more slowly can help one relax their body, which in turn helps one's mind to remain steady. Thus, language is transformed from a mere mirror of emotion to a means of shaping it. Much about the human brain is still unknown. Even while neuroscience has come a long way, many parts of the brain are still only partially understood. We can draw out blueprints, follow electrical impulses, and keep an eye out for trends. But we still don't know the answer to the more fundamental question of how awareness develops or why our memories are so strong. There are parts of the brain that don't seem to do anything at all, and the networks that connect them are far more complicated than anything that humans have created for computers. We have merely scratched the surface of this vast living cosmos within our brains, and each new study brings both answers and new questions. The brain is like an ocean. We've only scratched the top, but there are vast stretches of uncharted territory beneath the surface. In the stillness that follows cognition, we are reminded that our mind is more than a biological mechanism. It is a wonder that we inhabit constantly throughout our lives. You seem to be thinking about the same things over and over again. According to studies, most of our thoughts each day are just rehashed ideas from the days before. Old worries, habits, and thoughts resurfacing in slightly altered shapes. Although this mental reiteration aids in stability maintenance, it has the potential to stifle innovation and trap us in ruts. Reusing existing neuronal connections is easier than creating new ones, and the brain prefers to do things efficiently. But new ways of thinking might emerge when we actively seek out unfamiliar situations, question long-held beliefs, or alter our immediate environment. This explains why experiencing new things, whether it's traveling, gaining knowledge, or even just changing your commute, may be energizing. It forces one to stop operating on autopilot and pay attention. Our minds tend to follow predictable paths most of the time, but if we take a detour every once in a while, we can find a whole different terrain inside ourselves. Even amongst different species, yawning can spread. A silent yawn can travel from one person to another, leaving an impression on everyone in the room. Not only do humans catch yawns from other people, but chimpanzees, dogs, and even some birds have been seen doing the same. Theoretically, this effect is associated with social bonding and empathy, according to psychologists. Unconsciously, we strengthen our relationships by mimicking the actions of people around us. Being near to a person makes you more likely to catch their yawn. A friend is more likely to elicit a yawn from you than a total stranger. Nothing is known about the deed itself. It appears that yawning's social spread serves a different purpose than its ability to control brain temperature and increase attentiveness. Embracing the group's rhythms in silence, a shared yawn serves as a subtle but effective reminder of our shared biology, modest, wordless movement that conveys we're experiencing this moment as a unit. The way the brain processes pain can be altered during hypnosis. When someone is under hypnosis, they may feel minimal or no pain at all during painful situations. Scans of the brain reveal that hypnosis can change activity in regions responsible for processing pain signals, which means that the actual feeling of pain can be changed, but only in the brain's interpretation of it. This has found its way into dental work, surgery, and pain treatment, among other medical applications, although some people may find it more effective than others. The mind can change its answers while in hypnosis, according to psychologists, since it is focused and very suggestible. There is no magic behind the effect. The brain's inherent plasticity is in action here. The mind has the ability to rewrite the body's experience only by shifting perception. There is a deep truth hinted at by this relationship between attention and sensation. A painful sensation is the result of a multifaceted conversation between the nervous system, the brain, and consciousness. Changing the power discussion is sometimes as simple as raising awareness. The health benefits of writing down emotions are well documented. Writing down feelings, even in a small note or diary, can have a real impact on mental health. Expressive writing has several health benefits, including lowering blood pressure, boosting immunological function, and elevating mood, according to studies. Psychologists think it's a useful way to put sentiments into context, transforming more nebulous concepts into more manageable mental models. As a result, you won't be mentally exhausted and will have more mental bandwidth for other activities. It is not necessary to have flawless syntax or style when writing. Sincerity is its key to success. We are able to release the power of the formless by giving it shape through the linguistic translation of our inner sensations. When thoughts become too much to handle mentally, writing them down creates a safe haven. Emotions, especially complicated ones, can be better understood and handled with regular use of this technique. Unlike facts, feelings are easier for us to remember. Emotions influence our memory since the human mind is so sensitive. Memories of events associated with strong emotions, such as joy, fear, grief, or excitement, are more likely to persist than details that are emotionally neutral. Emotional tagging aids in the brain's prioritization of significant events. However, this also implies that our emotions are more readily recalled than the details of what transpired. For instance, in eyewitness evidence, the emotional impact of an incident might impact memories, which can occasionally skew the veracity of the facts. On the plus side, holding on to the feelings associated with significant occasions can serve to solidify relationships, ideals, and life lessons. Our recollections aren't always accurate. These tales are more akin to those told from the soul. Remembering things from the past is frequently like strolling through a landscape of emotions, with facts strewn around like stones. If you're having trouble focusing, try chewing gum. Chewing gum has been associated with enhanced focus and alertness, despite its seemingly insignificant and mindless nature. Chewing may activate regions of the brain associated with attention and memory, and the rhythmic motion seems to enhance blood flow to the brain. Studies have shown that chewing gum, particularly peppermint-flavored gum, can somewhat improve performance on tasks that require continuous attention. It won't blow your mind, but it can give you a little more pep in your step. I suppose that's why it has been utilized by students, drivers, and even warriors for extended periods of tough work. Chewing gum has two benefits for focus: reducing stress and decreasing cortisol levels, according to psychologists. When you're alone and your thoughts start to wander, this little action might serve as a gentle anchor to bring you back to the task at hand. What you learn in the beginning and the end tends to stay with you the longest. The primacy and recency effects are two ways in which our memories are impacted. Memorization bias occurs when we're more likely to remember the first and last items in a series than the ones in the middle. While the last things stay in short-term memory, the early ones benefit from greater practice and focus. This pattern is all around us. The beginning and ending of a discussion, class, or even a trip tend to stick out in our minds more than the middle. Gaining a grasp of this can facilitate learning. Putting important material at the start or finish of a study session makes it more likely that it will stick. The mind tends to highlight the most important parts of an event, like the beginning and the finish of a story. The middle is still important, but the beginning and last moments tend to be the ones that stay in the quiet archives of our minds the longest. Changes that are occurring in front of your eyes can go unnoticed by your brain. One peculiarity of perception is change blindness. If even major changes to a scene happen during a short period of distraction or visual disruption, the brain may not detect them. People can look intently at an object in an experiment, then look away for a second, and then notice that it has changed completely when they return their gaze. The selective nature of attention causes this to occur. Not every detail can be processed by us, so, using what it already knows, the brain makes hypotheses to fill in the blanks. In everyday life, change blindness can explain why we don't notice minor room reorganizations or a friend's new hairstyle. It serves as a timely reminder that our sense of perception is far from ideal. Instead, it's a jigsaw puzzle of pointed details and implied continuity sewn together so seamlessly that we hardly notice the gaps unless someone else identifies them. You can fool your brain into thinking you're happier just by smiling. Smiling is an easy way to change your mood, even if you're not in a very happy mood. This is known as the face feedback theory in psychology. The theory that one's facial expressions might impact their emotional condition. A number of neurotransmitters, including serotonin and dopamine, are released into the brain when the facial muscles contract in a smiling motion. Even if nothing else changes, this can still generate a little mood rise. The converse is also true. Scowling or frowning could make people feel even more tense or frustrated. It's not a crawl, but a self-aware grin might help bring a sense of calm when we're feeling overwhelmed. For this reason, some people find it helpful to gently lift their lips in a smile while they meditate. It serves as a constant reminder of how inseparable the mind and body are. And sometimes all it takes to start feeling better is a little intentional expression. The people you find attractive may be shaped by your subconscious. Even though many of the building blocks of attraction are unconscious, the act of attraction itself feels like a deliberate decision. Facial symmetry, vocal intonation, and even a person's fragrance can elicit reactions based on biology and experience, all through subtle cues. Some choices may be influenced by health indicators, according to evolutionary psychologists, while others are molded by cultural norms and personal history. Associations are also woven in by the subconscious. Some people's laughs bring up warm memories of generous people. Someone you hold in high esteem from your past can inspire a new hairdo. The unconscious mind forms these sensations before the conscious mind starts to analyze, giving the sense of immediate chemistry. Allure is timeless and unique to each individual, as this serves as a reminder. A tango involving our individual life paths and our instincts refined over thousands of years. Before we ever realize it, they've already decided on a course of action, subtly directing our gaze and emotions. Experiencing a flow state might shorten the perception of time. When you're in a flow state, you can almost feel the time stretching out before your eyes and the stresses of the outside world vanishing. Many people in creative fields, athletics, and science report feeling energized rather than exhausted after devoting hours to a task. The psychological state of flow is described as the state of being just right when the difficulty of a task is just right for your competence level. Just the right amount of challenge to keep you interested without being overwhelmed. Brain activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is associated with self-awareness, decreases in this condition, allowing one to fully immerse oneself in the work at hand. FO encompasses more than just maximum output. Being fully immersed in the experience where awareness and action merge is incredibly fulfilling. When tackling problems at work, in their own time, or when engaging in artistic pursuits, many people find it. When one is in the calm trance of flow, time stands still. Thoughts drift aimlessly toward the ocean, and the passage of minutes becomes a matter of moments. Technology allows people to cultivate additional senses. With the help of modern technology, our sense of perception can be expanded well beyond its inherent capabilities. The brain may learn to comprehend tactile signals that are converted from non-visual data, such as magnetic fields or ultrasonic distances, by devices that have been developed by researchers. As time goes on, individuals gradually integrate these signals into their daily awareness, just as with sight or touch. For instance, similar to how migratory animals develop an instinctive sense of direction, a belt that vibrates when facing north can do the same for humans. These improvements show how the brain can change and adapt to new information, a process known as neuroplasticity. These instruments are still in their early stages of development, but they show promise for a future where our senses may be enhanced to detect elements like the chemical composition of the air, ultraviolet light, and infrared heat, opening up whole new realms of experience that we can only dream of now. A person's brain literally changes form when they learn something new. The neural networks in your brain are constantly evolving as a result of new knowledge. Synaptic plasticity is a process that improves information storage and retrieval by strengthening and forming new connections between neurons. What this implies for your daily life is that your brain is always changing. Your life experiences build this ever-evolving framework. Research using magnetic resonance imaging, MRI, has shown that learning new skills, such as playing an instrument or learning a language, can lead to the gradual enlargement of specific brain areas. Although these changes manifest most quickly during childhood, they persist throughout a person's life, demonstrating that knowledge may be acquired at any age. A well-worn route emerges from a faint one when one walks across a field. That is the process of learning. The road becomes more visible, and the mental terrain broadens with each visit as you forge new connections. What you perceive in the world can be altered by your mood. Feelings influence more than just our thoughts. They can also affect how we perceive the world around us. In contrast to nervous persons who may limit their focus to scan for dangers and overlook neutral or calm positive signals, those in a good mood are more likely to notice fine details and see a broader spectrum of colors, according to research. This occurs as a result of the fact that one's emotional state affects the brain's attention processes, which in turn alter the processing of sensory data. If you're happy, a sunset will seem much more spectacular, but if you're scared, a dimly lighted street will seem much darker. Thus, seeing is not an objective process in and of itself. At any one time, it takes on the characteristics of the mind's filter. A shift in one's emotional state can have a profound effect on one's physical surroundings, showing that the boundary between one's internal mental state and their external environment is more porous than we think. When there is just one eyewitness, people are more inclined to pitch in and aid. The bystander effect describes how the presence of other individuals could make people less likely to intervene in an emergency. When people are by themselves, they are more likely to take initiative. Responsibility is spread out, and everyone thinks someone else will pitch in when there are a lot of people around. From carefully produced accidents to real-life object drops, this effect has been demonstrated in a myriad of investigations. With more people around, it's less likely that someone will step in. Nevertheless, being cognizant of the bystander effect might mitigate its impact. Knowing that makes people more inclined to behave independently of others. It serves as a cautionary tale about falling into the trap of seeking assistance from others when one needs it most. At times, the one who needs to step up is actually you. Anyone can be affected by the aroma of tension, even if no one else notices the need. Sweat contains chemical substances that the body releases when under stress, which can send subtle signals to people around. Studies have shown that those around you may experience increased arousal or anxiety just by inhaling these stress odors, even if you aren't consciously aware of it. This provides more evidence that aroma can play a role in the social transmission of stress, alongside vocal intonation and facial expression. Stress in a space can subtly move from one individual to another, even though this effect probably developed to aid groups in detecting and reacting to danger. It can be liberating to realize this. Calm can spread like wildfire, just as worry does. By taking charge of our own emotions, we have the power to shape the atmosphere around us in ways that are hard to put into words, but that everyone can sense. Feeling nostalgic can really make you feel warmer. A warm, fuzzy feeling in the chest isn't all that nostalgia is. It has the potential to increase your core body temperature. Research has demonstrated that thinking back on pleasant memories can raise one's perception of temperature and even mitigate the feeling of actual coldness. This connection may have its origins in our evolutionary demands, according to psychologists. In the brain, feelings of safety and belonging are associated with both physical and social warmth. When we think back on pleasant experiences, our bodies react as though we've entered a cozier room. People tend to think more nostalgically in the winter, maybe to help them cope with the cold. A familiar tune, a picture, or even the scent of a beloved dish can set off a wave of nostalgia that envelops the senses in a comforting embrace of fond memories. Just by looking at something, one can impart fear. Feeling afraid does not require direct encounters with danger. Feelings of terror might be triggered only by observing other people's reactions. This is because we can learn about potential threats in a roundabout way thanks to the brain's mirror mechanisms, which allow us to mimic the emotions of other people. People exhibited comparable anxiety reactions, even in the absence of direct exposure, after seeing another person exhibiting signals of dread for a certain object, according to research. We probably developed this mechanism so we can learn from other people's mistakes and be safe. What this means for real life is that fear may influence conduct in groups in milliseconds, even before words are uttered. Being emotionally aware is a significant tool for changing the collective mood of those around us. Just as calmness may be contagious or alarming, superstars have the power to compel commoners to follow their most stringent directives. Psychologist Stanley Milgram showed in the 1960s that regular individuals, when directed by an authority figure, would administer electric shocks to others that they imagined to be unpleasant. Findings from the study show that people's values might get in the way of their actions when they're under duress from others or from those in positions of power. The results have been repeated in different situations, such as business hierarchies and military settings, despite the fact that they are contentious. The basis of the effect is our propensity to postpone accountability while obeying directions and to trust those we regard as experts in the field. That doesn't imply individuals have no agency. Being cognizant of the impact can fortify opposition. It's a little reminder that standing up for what's right can be scary, especially when everyone else is telling you to just do as you're told. But sometimes it's worth it to walk out of the shadow of authority and take back your decision. Compared to central vision, peripheral vision is quicker in detecting motion. Although your eyes are best at focusing on details in the middle, they are quickest to notice movement at the periphery. As a survival mechanism, the ability to detect even the slightest movement, such as a rustle, could make the difference between seeing a predator and a victim. This sensitivity is associated with the outer retina's rod cells, which are more adept at detecting light and motion in low-contrast environments. This means that in today's world, you may be able to detect motion in the periphery of your vision before you even open your eyes to see it. As a component of the brain's early warning system, it is always on the lookout for changes and prepared to direct your attention where it's most required. A spectre from long ago stands sentinel in the peaceful periphery of your place. Memory retention is enhanced by handwriting more so than by typing. Because it requires simultaneous use of fine motor abilities, visual processing, and spatial awareness, handwriting is a unique kind of brain exercise compared to typing. This more immersive sensory experience aids in the encoding of information, facilitating its subsequent recall. Because summarizing in real time necessitates active engagement with the content, students who take handwritten notes generally retain concepts better, even if they write less overall. You may give your mind more time to absorb and process ideas when you write by hand, since it slows you down. Writing things out by hand can be a kind of attentive learning, even though typing is quick and efficient. Every physical stroke imprinted not just on paper, but also into the cerebral pathways of memory. You can fool your brain into thinking you're happier just by smiling. Smiling can lift your spirits even when you're not feeling very happy. The reason behind this is that the way our face muscles contract and relax sends messages to our brains that impact how we absorb emotions. Those who grimace at cartoons report less enjoyment than those who hold a pen between their teeth to make a fake smile, according to studies. The point is not to put on an act of joy. It all comes down to making a tiny physical signal that the brain takes as an indication of security and happiness. When the day gets tough, this little feedback loop might be a peaceful way to change your viewpoint. We can identify faces in a fraction of a second. It takes the human brain less than 1/100th of a second to develop an impression of a face. According to studies, even a short exposure is sufficient for individuals to form impressions of someone's trustworthiness, competence, and likability. These hasty evaluations originate from prehistoric survival strategies, when determining ally or enemy status in a flash was crucial. Rapid processing of facial signals occurs in the amygdala and other parts of the brain much before the onset of conscious thought. Initial impressions aren't necessarily correct, even if they tend to be remarkably constant among observers. When faced with a blank, our minds tend to fill it with acquired prejudices and anecdotes. This snap judgment serves as a timely reminder that our primal instincts persist, predating the advent of cities, TVS, and introductions when the power of a single look determined our fate. Some people are more forthcoming when they know others are watching. For instance, if you want people to be more generous and truthful, just put a picture of eyeballs over a donation box. According to psychologists, this occurs because being watched makes people feel accountable to others, even if it's just virtual. This impact is associated with our prehistoric ancestors, when social status and affiliation were crucial to our survival. Your brain still reacts to these small signals today, since being visible meant your activities mattered. Curiously, realism is not required for the eyes. The effect can be achieved even with stylized designs. It's a subtle illustration of how our innate social instincts impact our actions in subtle ways, like how an ordinary image might serve as an unseen reminder that someone is watching. It is common for people to exaggerate the amount of attention they receive. Our inclination to think other people are more interested in what we have to say than they actually are is called the spotlight effect. This is capable of making minor errors. Things like tripping on a sidewalk or speaking a phrase incorrectly seem more visible than they actually are. Truthfully, the majority of individuals are too preoccupied with their own ideas to pay us any attention. Our life experiences are the root cause of this bias. We take it personally when other people focus on us, because we are the protagonist in our own narrative. If you suffer from social anxiety or self-consciousness, learning about the spotlight effect may help. We may walk through life more lightly, no longer preoccupied with finding an audience where none exists, once we accept that most people are looking inward. This realization helps our own little blunders to fade into the background. Knowing that it is a placebo doesn't stop the placebo effect from working. Studies have shown that inactive treatments, such as placebos, can nonetheless have meaningful benefits, even though the recipient is aware that it is not actual medicine. It sounds impossible, but it's true. In these instances, it is frequently sufficient to explain that the placebo may activate the body's inherent healing systems in order to produce observable effects, such as diminished pain or elevated mood. According to psychologists, this is effective because of the power of expectation and conditioning. Treatment rituals, when coupled with faith in the body's healing abilities, stimulate neural pathways that impact bodily states. This open-label placebo effect shows how the mind and body are so interdependent and how beliefs can influence biology even when there is no deceit. In certain cases, just being aware of something might have a curative effect. Many times, feelings are more easily recalled than facts. Reflect on a pivotal time. The precise order of events may elude you, but the feelings of elation, sadness, or shame may linger. This is due to the fact that the amygdala and other memory-related brain regions make emotional information simpler to remember than factual details. This emotional investment can serve as a compass for the choices we make in the future, but it can also cloud our memories. While we could remember the general vibe of a day, the details tend to slip our minds. This explains why distinct recollections can emerge from the same event when two people discuss it. Emotions are the ink and details are the paper in our life stories. Without emotion, a memory is just a hazy recollection. But, when combined with it, even the most general ideas can cling on for years. Sometimes forgetting is more significant than remembering. Even though it's a fundamental aspect of memory, forgetting can make us feel flawed. The brain is always processing massive volumes of data. Prioritizing what's important requires releasing less important details. Psychologists think that forgetting helps us draw broader conclusions from our experiences rather than fixating on particulars. Additionally, it ensures that fresh knowledge is not obstructed by old data. The process of adaptive forgetting is analogous to tree pruning, which involves eliminating unhealthy branches to make room for new, healthier ones. The capacity to forget is not a sign of weakness, but rather an efficiency mechanism that helps us focus on what's truly important by erasing irrelevant memories. You may train your brain to perceive things inverted. The use of special glasses to invert one's eyesight and make the world appear upside down was a common practice in classic experiments. It seemed strange at first, but after a few days, your brain adapted. Despite the image entering the eyes being inverted, objects felt right side up again. The exceptional adaptability displayed here is a product of neuroplasticity, the brain's capacity to restructure itself in reaction to novel stimuli. Once the spectacles were taken off, the eyesight seemed to flip backwards until the brain adapted. Perception, the research demonstrates, is not a static recording, but rather an evolving mental construct, molded in real time by how the brain processes sensory information. Even the most basic concepts like up and down can be simplified by adaptation. Making a choice as a group could be riskier than doing it alone. Groups often act more daringly and recklessly than individuals would in the same circumstance, an occurrence known as group polarization. This is possible because popular opinion tends to get louder in group settings. And when people are excited about something, they tend to discount any risks. From political rallies to corporate meetings, the effect is obvious. The urge for unity and momentum can sometimes overcome caution in collective decision-making, which can lead to unsafe shifts in viewpoint. By being cognizant of this tendency, communities might work to counteract it by promoting opposing viewpoints and intentional pauses. The communal mind, when properly harnessed, can be an effective instrument. Careful use is required, though, as is the case with any tool. The mind's ability to reconstruct reality is demonstrated via optical illusions. The brain does more than merely receive sensory information, which is why optical illusions are effective. It deciphers it, making guesses and filling in blanks as it goes. An image could seem to shift, move, or conceal aspects that are actually there when these predictions don't match up with the raw data. The cognitive processes that allow us to swiftly comprehend our environment are laid bare by illusions. These cognitive shortcuts are useful most of the time, but they do serve to highlight the fact that our perceptions are mental reconstructions of reality rather than the whole truth. A person's expectations, background, and experiences shape their perceptions in some way. A more resilient brain can be the result of laughing. Crying isn't merely a response, it's a way to train your brain to be more resilient. Laughter puts our bodies in a physiological state that makes it simpler to deal with problems. The brain generates endorphins and stress hormone levels go down. In times of stress, having a support system of people you can lean on is invaluable, and shared laughter does just that. The nervous system can learn to recover from stress more rapidly, with repeated exposure to happy situations. Laughter is transformed into something more substantial and lasting in this manner. There's a reservoir of bravery inside each of us, waiting to be unleashed whenever the situation calls for it. Live longer if you have a purpose in life. According to studies, people tend to live longer and healthier lives when they have a strong sense of purpose in life. A sense of purpose can serve as a powerful motivator, leading to improvements in health, less stress, and stronger social bonds. Studies have linked purpose to reduced levels of inflammatory markers and improved cardiovascular health, so it appears to have direct benefits for the body as well. This in no way implies that one's objective ought to be monumental or revolutionary. Caring for loved ones, following one's artistic interest, or making a positive impact on one's community are all examples of deeply personal pursuits. Having a purposeful goal to strive toward is like having a mental compass. It helps in decision-making and maintains resilience. A sense of purpose can be a guiding light in dark times, encouraging you to face the challenges ahead, step by step. A special network in your brain is responsible for recognizing faces. The fusiform face area is a dedicated location for face recognition located deep within the temporal lobe. Even in a crowded environment, this network can quickly recognize known faces because of its fine-tuning. Facial features can still be perceived, but even close acquaintances and family members can be difficult to identify in the event of prosopagnosia, a form of face blindness caused by damage to this region. Our evolutionary past establishes the system's significance, determining emotions, identifying friends, and forming social ties have all relied heavily on reading faces. Surprisingly, this network is capable of processing more than simply human faces. It has the ability to learn and recognize patterns that are meaningful to you, such as the shape of a cherished item or the patterns on your pet. It's proof that our brains are highly invested in connection, which shapes our capacity to identify our loved ones. Brain architecture can be physically changed by meditation. There is more to meditation than meets the eye. Consistent practice over time alters brain structure. The hippocampus, which is involved in learning and memory, and the prefrontal cortex, which is associated with decision-making and self-control, have both shown changes in MRI studies. The amygdala is a brain region responsible for fear and stress responses. Regular meditation has been shown to decrease its size, which may indicate an increased ability to relax. These anatomical alterations are evidence of neuroplasticity, the capacity of the brain to remodel itself in reaction to new information. Attention, emotional management, and general health can all benefit from even a few minutes of practice every day, starting to change brain patterns. Amidst a world that frequently feels chaotic, meditation provides a means to transform the mind internally, ingraining inner tranquility into the brain's basic structure. It is possible for people to have an out-of-body experience in specific contexts. People often describe feeling detached from their body, as if they are looking down on themselves from above or some other vantage point, during targeted brain stimulation, profound meditation, or near-death experiences. According to neuroscientists, these events are associated with problems at the temporal parietal junction, a region of the brain responsible for integrating sensory data. These experiences, however brief, can have a tremendous impact on people who have them because of how real they feel. A person's identity and their level of existential curiosity can be profoundly affected by out-of-body experiences. Whether seen as neurological phenomena or spiritual occurrences, they both serve to emphasize the brain's extraordinary role in developing an individual's sense of self, which, given the correct circumstances, can detach and float beyond the physical form's limitations. Unbeknownst to you, priming can alter behavior. When specific words, pictures, or concepts are exposed first, they subtly influence subsequent actions. This process is called priming. Unconsciously, for instance, reading about politeness can cause people to interrupt less frequently in conversations. while viewing about aging could cause them to move more slowly. This is due to the fact that the brain forms perception and response using recently activated concepts as shortcuts. Priming may only have a temporary impact, but it does show how responsive we are to stimuli in our environment. Priming in everyday life can motivate positivity, which in turn fosters kindness, creativity, and productivity. But it also demonstrates how subtly our thoughts may be influenced. Every place we enter subtly shapes our thoughts and actions. You may strengthen your immune system by being kind. Random acts of kindness have a multiplicative effect. Your health can also benefit from them. Blood pressure, stress hormones, and immunological function can all be lowered by helping other people. The secretion of oxytocin, which helps maintain healthy cardiovascular function and fosters sentiments of warmth and trust, is thought by psychologists to be the likely cause of this. Simple actions, like holding a door or smiling, can have a big impact. When people are good to one another, it might start a domino effect. Because doing nice deeds boosts happiness, more people will likely keep helping. Thus, generosity is more than just a social connection. Interwoven with the conversations that bring us together is a subtle method of taking care of oneself. The way you stand might affect how you feel. Your emotional state is affected by how you hold your body. Sitting or standing up straight can make you feel more confident and attentive. However, slouching can make you feel even more tired or depressed. The feedback loops that establish this connection between the brain and the body are what make it function. Hormone levels, respiration rhythms, and brain activity are all impacted by posture. Although the precise benefits are still up for discussion, one study found that participants who posed in power positions felt more in control. Posture, in addition to self-assurance, influences energy levels via diaphragmatic and chest dilation. A more present and clear state of mind can be achieved with little changes, such as sitting up straight, releasing tension in the shoulders, and raising the head. The mind writes itself a tale, and the body sets the scene for it in numerous ways. The experience of trauma might occasionally pave the way for one's own development. While experiencing trauma can be extremely painful, some people are able to grow stronger, more empathetic, or find a new sense of purpose as a result of it. This is called post-traumatic growth. Recovery can occasionally cultivate strengths that might not have emerged otherwise. This is not to say that trauma was inherently good. Researchers in the field of psychology have found that there is room for improvement in areas like one's relationships, one's outlook on life, and one's commitment to one's ideals. Making sense of what happened and how it fits into a bigger story is a common part of the process. In the words of many who have gone through it, post-traumatic growth is like a tree that grows stronger after weathering a storm. Without speaking, tension can transfer from one person to another. The quiet transmission of stress from one individual to another is a real possibility. The mere act of watching someone's tense facial expressions, body language, or vocal changes might cause the observer's brain to react in a similar way. It is believed that empathy, the ability of our neurological systems to tune into the feelings of those around us, lies at the heart of this social transmission of stress. This has the potential to improve group reaction times to dangers, but it also implies that the worry of even a single individual can have a domino effect on the entire room. Also true is the inverse. The same holds true for the propagation of calmness, which can ease anxiety and promote stability. Thus, taking care of ourselves emotionally and mentally by reducing stress is a gift to people around us that they won't even notice. When we are the sole eyewitness, we are more inclined to lend a hand. Seeing a helpless person when we're alone makes us want to do something fast. Responsibility cannot be shifted to anybody else. This is in contrast to the bystander effect, which happens when people in a group are too timid to speak up for fear that someone else will. Being the sole eyewitness eliminates any doubt and puts the power to decide firmly in our hands. The need to lend a hand feels very immediate and intimate during these times. According to psychologists, this is a holdover from an earlier evolutionary phase. Each person's input was critical when working in smaller groups. It serves as a timely reminder that even the simplest, most urgent steps can have a significant impact, particularly in situations where no one else is willing to do so. One way to quickly become friendly with someone is to mimic their movements. One way to build rapport and trust is to mimic another person's body language, facial expressions, or speaking habits. The chameleon effect describes this innate human inclination to blend in with others. When it comes effortlessly, mirroring shows that you're paying attention and empathetic toward the other person. That's why it's not uncommon for talks to fall into a rhythm, or for friends to laugh or lean in at the same moment. Skilled negotiators and therapists both utilize mirroring to build rapport and encourage cooperation in professional contexts, but it may come across as fake if pushed too far. At its core, mirroring is just the body communicating with you, so to speak. Two nerve systems synchronizing their movements to the beat of the same music, a silent alignment, defies description. When you expand your knowledge, your brain undergoes physical changes. The way our brains are structured changes with every new talent we acquire, whether it's playing an instrument or learning a new recipe. The ability of the brain to change in response to new information is known as neuroplasticity. Similar to how new paths in a forest are formed when learning occurs, synaptic pathways are strengthened and new ones can even be formed. According to magnetic resonance imaging (MRI) research, specific brain areas can actually grow larger when engaging in tasks such as juggling, learning a new language, or solving complicated problems. Though gradual, these alterations eventually become ingrained in the brain's living architecture as a result of repeated practice. One of neuroplasticity's best features is that it's effective throughout life. The potential for growth is always there, even if it slows down over time. There is tangible evidence of every new talent that is acquired. In the ever-changing brain map, there is a subtle imprint of experience. To improve retention, try studying in a different place. Information can be better retained by studying in various settings. The brain instinctively links the information being learned with each location's distinct stimuli, causing this effect to occur. The more associations you can make with the material, the easier it will be to recall it in the future. To generate small changes in illumination, ambient noise, and sensation, all of which serve as retrieval cues, try switching between a library, a park seat, and a silent room. According to psychologists, this method can be especially helpful when getting ready for tests or presentations. The same logic holds true outside of the realm of education. Improving performance and flexibility requires practicing a skill in many circumstances. You can make your memory more complex and difficult to unravel by subtly changing up your habit. You can deepen your own wisdom by imparting it to others. Improving your understanding of a topic is a byproduct of the process of explaining it to another person, which involves planning ahead, using precise terminology, and being prepared for inquiries. Teachers frequently claim to learn just as much as they teach because of this phenomenon, which is also known as the protégé effect. By actively retrieving and reconstructing information, teachers develop the brain circuits that store knowledge. Preparing to teach oneself can increase memorization since it brings the material into a more organized and intentional state of mind. This method is applicable to both facts and abilities. One example is the process of improving one's own muscle memory through instructing a buddy in the art of cooking. One manner in which teaching makes knowledge more permanent in one's mental library is by transforming it from something one holds to something one lives. Evolution has imbued some people with innate phobias. Primates, including humans, are more likely to develop irrational fears, such as those of heights, spiders, or snakes, even in the absence of prior exposure to such stimuli. According to evolutionary biologists and psychologists, our ancestors honed these fears throughout time to help them escape harm. These triggers can elicit anxiety reactions in humans more rapidly than neutral things, such as flowers or houses, according to studies. Although many of these risks are less significant in today's world, the underlying tendency is still there. Our emotional responses are influenced by both our individual experiences and the evolutionary past that is hardwired into our neurological systems. Sometimes our gut feelings are only reminders of times when we should have been more careful, when a split second may have been the difference between life and death. Your memory's quality drops as you multitask. Although it may seem like you're getting more done when you switch between projects, your memory is actually becoming worse. Split attention weakens recollection because the brain can't encode all the information of each task. Another risk of multitasking is source confusion, which happens when you recall information but can't place its origin. The ability to concentrate for long periods of time decreases as a result of brain adaptations brought about by repeated multitasking. If you want to improve your learning and retention, psychologists suggest monotasking, or focusing on just one thing at a time. While multitasking is tempting in today's world, the mind works best when given the opportunity to focus intently on one task at a time and commit it to memory. Depending on the context, your perception of time might distort or even dissolve. Attention, emotion, and novelty all play a role in how we perceive time. As our brains process more sensory information every second, moments of high concentration or danger can seem to drag on for much longer. On the flip side, when you're in a pattern you know well, time can fly by in what feels like a flash. Because of this effect, it can seem like childhood goes on forever. While childhood is full of novel experiences, adulthood can feel rushed since there is less novelty. Seeking out novel experiences, according to psychologists, can make each day feel more full and the passing of time seem less accelerated. Our perception of time is thus more akin to an accordion, swelling and contracting in sync with the melodies of our lives, than a mechanical clock. With focused disturbance, it is possible to erase certain memories. Disrupting the reconsolidation process, the time between recalling and storing a memory again, has allowed researchers to weaken or even destroy certain memories in animals. This method has been investigated as a possible remedy for traumatic memories. However, it is currently mostly in the experimental phase in humans. Some memories can be rendered less intense or emotionally charged by manipulating the brain's chemical pathways during reconsolidation. As exciting as the prospect is, it also begs the question of ethics. Could vital pieces of one's identity be erased along with pain? Memory is not a static record, but rather an evolving construct that may be rebuilt under specific conditions. This is what the research is trying to convey at the moment. False memories can be generated by your brain and made to feel very genuine. Imperfect recalls aren't the only kind of false memories. For all intents and purposes, they can feel just like the real thing. people can be tricked into remembering things that never happened through the power of suggestion, imagination, and even images, according to experiments. Subtle changes can occur over time because memories are formed by rebuilding details each time they are recalled by the brain. While this adaptability is usually a good thing, it lets memories change. It also makes them vulnerable to distortion. Completely made-up scenarios, including all feelings and sensory perceptions, can be vividly recalled by certain people. It serves as a sobering reminder that our memories are far from flawless. It's a tale that our thoughts weave, and the way it is told can alter it, just like any story. Unbeknownst to you, your brain is capable of hallucinating holes in your eyesight. The intersection of the optic nerve and retina is a blind zone for all humans. However, this goes unnoticed most of the time. This occurs as a result of the brain's inherent ability to complete gaps in knowledge by making use of contextual cues and patterns. This process of filling up tiny visual gaps produced by blinking, shadows, or obstructions occurs continuously, not only at the blind spot. The outcome is usually smooth. This does, however, imply that our perception of the world is not entirely objective, but rather somewhat constructed. Here, the brain takes on the role of an editor, delivering a sanitized version of reality instead of the uncut film. Interpretation, together with light, shapes the image in which we live. When you hear your own name, your brain goes into a special mode. When the brain hears your name, it acts as a little alert. Hearing it can immediately draw you in, even in a room with a lot of background noise. The cocktail party effect describes this phenomenon. A region of the brain associated with self-awareness, the medial prefrontal cortex, becomes more active in response to the sound of one's own name, according to brain scans. Names are strongly associated with identity and social connection. Therefore, the reaction is instinctive and frequently emotional. Recognizing when someone was addressing you may indicate danger, opportunity, or important information, so it's no wonder that this sensitivity evolved. Your name, even when murmured from afar, can cut through noise and bring you right back to the here and now. People can unconsciously develop prejudices, much like a tiny thread that ties you to the environment. Some biases are unconscious or unintentional. Unconscious biases, preferences, or associations might develop as a result of the brain's propensity to create snap judgments and classify information. Even for those who hold justice and equality in the highest regard, these can impact their judgments, perspectives, and relationships. The results of implicit bias studies show that these kinds of linkages are often surprisingly hard to alter. To combat these, however, one must first be aware of them. We can start to confront these underlying tendencies by being more deliberate, open to other points of view, and less reliant on our immediate emotions. While this method won't get rid of bias totally, it can make it less of an issue so that our behavior is more in line with our ideals. Learning to detect a hidden current is analogous in some respects. The first step in navigating it is realizing it exists. Unfounded opinions might be influenced by peer pressure. We humans are quite opinionated and often influenced by the ideas of people around us because of our innate social nature. Classical trials have shown that people would conform to the group's norms, even if it meant giving blatantly incorrect answers to simple questions. When everyone is on the same page, or when we're not sure of anything, this tendency to conform could be more pronounced. Uniformity isn't necessarily a bad thing. Cooperation and shared norms can be fostered through it. However, it also has the potential to make us follow the herd rather than our own judgment. Being cognizant of this tendency can prompt us to take a step back, assess the facts, and question if agreement is sincere or driven by a need to blend in. Remaining true to yourself, even when everyone else tells you differently, can be a silent gesture of independence. Get enough sleep, and you might have insights you missed when you were up. The brain keeps functioning even when the body is sleeping, rearranging memories, creating connections, and even solving problems. This explains why it's not uncommon for dreams to contain the solution, or why, following a seemingly insurmountable problem the night before, a solution feels crystal evident upon waking. The brain is less constrained by the limits of awake logic and more free to explore odd associations during specific stages of sleep especially. Everyone from artists to scientists to innovators has said that sleep is the key to their best ideas. When we sleep, our brains mix information in unique ways, discovering patterns that our awake minds would miss. This allows us to solve problems in fresh ways. Rest is not a state of mindless doing nothing. During this dynamic state, our minds are busy but unseen, preparing to spring into action with a flash of insight the moment the sun rises. You can improve your memory by teaching other people. By actively retrieving and organizing previously learned material, one is able to impart that knowledge to others. By fortifying memory pathways, this process enhances the durability of knowledge. Moreover, by illuminating misconceptions, the process of explaining promotes more in-depth comprehension. Reminding a buddy about a documentary you saw is an example of an informal instruction that can help with memory retention. The reason why many people in authoritative positions have such in-depth knowledge of their fields is because of what psychologists term the protégé effect. Teaching allows you to take information and turn it into a skill, strengthening its integration into your mind. The more you break anything down, the more you internalize it. You can maintain your concentration by doodling. Actually, doodling can help you focus, so it's not an indication of being distracted. One study found that people's memory for specific details was better when they doodled while listening to a boring audio clip. If you're having trouble keeping your mind focused on the subject at hand, try politely engaging in some doodling. The finite amount of attentional processing power of the brain is the reason this effect is effective. Filling empty mental space with a little repeated work won't divert attention from the main task at hand. Doodling in class or a conference might help some people focus on the material at hand and keep their minds from straying. Concentration is achieved by the deliberate, rhythmic motions of writing. You can fool your brain into thinking you're happier just by smiling. Even when you're not feeling very happy, just smiling can trigger the production of feel-good neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine in your brain. This exemplifies the facial feedback theory in action, just as much as our emotions impact our expressions, and vice versa. Jokes were found to be funnier by participants who were instructed to hold a pen between their teeth in an effort to force a grin, as compared to those who were made to scowl. Although a smile won't magically lift your spirits, it can bring a slight uplift to your emotional condition, making it easier to confront difficulties. The idea that the body might occasionally take the lead in communicating with the mind serves as a useful reminder of this. Smell has a more significant impact on taste than does the tongue. The term taste refers to a combination of both flavor and fragrance. Only 5 fundamental flavors are detectable by the tongue. The flavors of sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami. Since our sense of smell is responsible for picking up on thousands of tiny flavors, it stands to reason that when your nose is congested, the food you consume will likely taste bland. The brain integrates olfactory and gustatory perceptions into a unified whole by way of areas associated with emotion and memory. This is the reason why some tastes might make you feel like you're back in a particular place or period. Every mouthful is a symphony of flavors that transcends the sum of its parts. Learning at regular intervals improves memorization. Spreading out learning over several sessions rather than cramming all at once improves long-term memory. This phenomenon is called the spacing effect. This is effective because the memory is reinforced with each review, and there is sufficient time between sessions for forgetting to happen so that retrieval demands effort. It is this exertion that strengthens the cerebral circuits, allowing the memory to last longer. When learning a new language, piece of music, or even just a name, it's best to space out your practice sessions so that the information sticks for months or even years instead of days. That's like trying to carve into stone instead of writing in damp sand. Even when you're not conscious of it, your brain can make a decision. Brain imaging experiments have shown that cerebral activity can anticipate a decision seconds before the individual is aware that they are making it. What this means is that our conscious mind doesn't actually possess much of what we see as free will. Rather, it's the unconscious that does the heavy lifting. This doesn't prove that free will doesn't exist, but it does show that our conscious mind is just a cog in a much bigger decision-making machine. The brain is like a vast ocean. Unseen currents far below influence the surface waves of conscious thought. Sometimes people's brains just know how to associate certain hues with vocalizations. Certain sounds can cause persons with synesthesia to perceive colors. For example, a musical note could seem like a burst of blue, while a spoken word could have a gentle greenish haze. All people have the same set of color associations, and they usually start developing at a young age. According to neuroscientists, this merging of sensations is brought about by an increase in connectivity between parts of the brain that normally handle vision and sound independently. The brain's incredible plasticity and its capacity to construct multi-layered experiences from external stimuli are on display in the rare occurrence of synesthesia. Music is more than heard. It is seen by those who possess it. Like listening to a silent fireworks show where each chord and melody plays a role. Gossip is easier to recall than actual information. Positive or negative accounts of other people's actions are more likely to be remembered than objective facts. The need to keep tabs on one's reputation and social connections was paramount to one's survival during evolution, which may explain this bias. The advantage was significant when one knew who to trust, who to be wary of, and who contributed to the group. The social reasoning networks in the brain are still activated when someone gossips about you, which makes it more remembered. False or malicious gossip can be detrimental, yet gossip itself can reinforce group norms and act as an informal kind of social regulation. Because of how long it remains in our minds, it serves as a poignant reminder of our innate social awareness and the power of stories to weave unspoken bonds among us. One way to alleviate stress is to shift your viewpoint. It is possible to reduce the emotional weight of a stressful event by reframing it or viewing it from a different perspective. Cognitive reappraisal is what psychologists use to describe this process, and it's effective because it alters the significance we give to occurrences. One way to improve problem-solving and decrease anxiety is to see challenges as opportunities for growth, not threats. Brain scans reveal that reappraisal stimulates the prefrontal cortex, which has a role in controlling the amygdala, the area of the brain responsible for fear. This change won't make the problem go away, but it can make it easier to respond calmly and deliberately by separating the stimulus from the reaction. Reappraisal training builds mental toughness over time, transforming stress from an adversary into a teacher. A little bit of fatigue inspires people to think beyond the box. The idea that a slightly weary brain might at times think more creatively than an attentive one is paradoxical, yet it's true. Weakness in our cognitive processes causes our mental filters to relax, enabling more out-of-the-ordinary associations to emerge. Jobs requiring creative problem-solving, idea generation, or varied thinking may benefit greatly from this. According to psychologists, when the mind is exhausted, it is able to relax and break away from its usual patterns, which in turn allows for the generation of fresh thoughts. Exhaustion is a major roadblock for the majority of jobs. However, when one is just a little off-kilter from being completely asleep, their thoughts can travel far enough to come up with brilliant ideas. That's why, for some, the best ideas come to them in the wee hours of the morning, or when the mind is free to wander a bit more. To fit in with the crowd, people change their minds. The influence of group consensus is substantial, and it frequently leads individuals to take stances they would not take on their own. The need for group cohesion takes precedence over individual conscience in this type of conformity. People will agree with the group's erroneous response to a question if it seems clear, so they don't stand out, according to classic studies. Although uniformity has the potential to foster unity and cooperation, it also carries the risk of stifling individuality and innovation. When we are aware of the influence of groupthink, we might stop to think about whether our agreement is a result of our personal convictions or the influence of the group. The most understated and frequently pivotal collective voice in a world filled with them is our own. Reward and compliment engage the same parts of the brain. Similar to the effect of monetary or prize-based rewards on the brain's reward regions, getting a compliment can have the same effect. When we receive positive reinforcement from others, parts of our brain like the striatum release dopamine and make us feel good about ourselves. Because they increase confidence and motivation, compliments can also help performers perform better. The effectiveness of positive feedback in teaching, teamwork, and relationships is rooted in this very reason. The impact extends beyond lavish compliments. Genuine, albeit subtle, recognition might elicit this reaction. Complimenting someone is, at its heart, about acknowledging and connecting with them. A moment that sends a message of appreciation and recognition that goes beyond mere words. Pain that you have never experienced can be imagined by your brain. We can imagine feelings we've never had before because our minds are so good at simulating real-life experiences. Some of the brain regions involved in processing pain can be activated just by observing another person in pain or reading a detailed account of it. This ability most likely developed to make us more empathic, which in turn helped us escape harm and comprehend the pain of others around us. Although the intensity of imagined pain is often less than that of genuine suffering, the similarities in brain activity can nonetheless cause us to feel empathy for someone else's injury. Anxieties and dread can develop from imagined suffering in this simulation, and it can impact our decisions long before any actual harm comes to pass. Lack of sleep prevents the formation of new memories. The brain's memory and learning capacities are significantly diminished when people don't get enough sleep. The hippocampus prepares memories for long-term storage as we sleep, both deep and REM. If you don't get enough sleep, your brain won't be able to comprehend the day's events as thoroughly. Sleep deprivation, even for just one night, can gradually impair memory and learning. Cognitive deterioration might be more severe and long-lasting if sleep deprivation is chronic. Because of this, getting enough sleep is critical for development and health. It is essential for preserving the memories of our days so that we may look back on them with clarity. Repetition tends to make people believe things. Our propensity to take assertions at face value when we hear them frequently enough, regardless of how genuine they actually are, is known as the illusory truth effect. To the brain, familiarity is like truth, and repetition makes things more familiar. Pattern recognition relies on this cognitive shortcut, which developed throughout time. On the other hand, false information might take advantage of it in today's environment. Slowing down and checking the facts before trusting repeated assertions is possible when we are conscious of this tendency. Being at ease with what is already known may be a strength and a weakness in a chaotic information environment. Your brain has a unique way of processing faces. The brain has dedicated areas for face recognition and interpretation because faces are so crucial to interpersonal communication. We are able to recognize faces, interpret emotions, and pick up on nuanced expressions, all thanks to the fusiform face area in the temporal lobe. We can usually remember a face before we can remember a name because this system is that efficient. That's the reason behind the occurrence of faces in clouds and patterns as well. Their ubiquitous presence is hardwired into the brain. This ability's significance reflects our shared evolutionary past with the ability to read facial expressions, which was crucial for both social interaction and survival. Sometimes the thrill of anticipation is greater than the actual event. The anticipation of an event, whether it's a vacation, a long-awaited meeting, or a journey, may often be more enjoyable than the actual event itself. Psychologists refer to this phenomenon as the anticipation effect, and it occurs because daydreaming liberates the mind from the constraints of reality to create an idealized version. In the days leading up to an event, anticipation can improve mood, boost motivation, and even decrease stress. Looking forward is valuable, even if the actual event does not match the idealized image we have created. Just waiting for anything to happen can be a prize in and of itself. A gentle, lovely mental blossoming that prolongs joy across time, allowing us to relish in both the here and now and the possibilities of what may be. We make snap judgments about people's faces. Sometimes in under 100 milliseconds, all it takes for the brain to create an imprint of a face is a single look. In this incredibly rapid assessment, the amygdala and other regions that handle social signals, trustworthiness assessments, and familiarity recognition are involved. Since they do not originate from conscious thought but rather from an instinct, these assessments frequently have the quality of being intuitive. Quick decisions can be helpful in identifying friends or threats, but they can also be influenced by bias. Being cognizant of this speed allows us to halt, allowing slower, more deliberate perceptions to take place. The imagination paints a picture in an instant, but it's merely a rough sketch. Subtle scents have the power to affect your emotional state. Smell and emotion have an instant, and more often than not, unconscious connection. The limbic system is the first to detect odors before they reach the brain's analytical regions. What this implies is that even the most subtle aromas, like a trace of wood smoke, a floral scent, or the scent of freshly baked bread, can subtly change your mood. Aromas that are calming, like lavender, may help reduce heart rate and induce relaxation, while aromas that are stimulating, like citrus, might heighten awareness and vigilance. These influences shape the emotional backdrop of a moment in a subtle but profound way. Whether you're outside, inside, or on a busy street, the air around you conveys subtle cues that our brains interpret as emotions. An understated impact on the mental climate. Some noises have the ability to cause bodily responses, while a soft tune may cause your respiration rate to decrease. an abrupt, loud sound can cause your heart rate to increase. Multiple brain areas, including those associated with movement, emotion, and memory, participate in the processing of auditory information. While some frequencies can induce tingling, as in ASMR, and others can induce pain or stress, there is a wide range of possible feelings. These bodily responses are a remnant of a long-ago survival mechanism. Being able to quickly react to sound signals could determine whether you are safe or not. Even now, they serve as a constant reminder of the inextricable bond between the human body and its auditory systems. Subtle effects on our physiological state can be produced by auditory stimuli such as music, voices, and ambient noise. Solving difficulties on your own requires a different mental process. People tend to think more deeply and reflectively when they are working alone, unencumbered by the views of others. This has the potential to result in novel approaches. Brain regions associated with reflection and internal visualization are frequently more active during solo problem-solving, even though this type of work does not provide the same level of feedback or stimulation as group cooperation. Working independently fosters unfettered imagination, but it also necessitates self-control to maintain focus. On the other hand, group dynamics have the potential to increase enthusiasm and idea exchange, but they also carry the danger of encouraging everyone to comply. The key to making the most of both solo and group efforts is learning when to do each. Experiencing strong emotions causes people to remember things more clearly. Emotions serve as a kind of memory spotlight, drawing attention to specifics and enhancing recall. The amygdala sends a signal to the hippocampus when the level of arousal is high, and the hippocampus then prioritizes the event for long-term storage, regardless of whether it is a happy, scary, or sad occasion. This explains why, even after many years have passed, we can still put ourselves in a person's shoes and relive emotional moments associated with formative life experiences. Emotion enhances recall of key elements, but could obscure less important ones at times. Even if you forget the precise order of events, the mood is still quite there. Our lives are emotionally woven with these experiences that will stay with you forever because your intellect and heart collaborated to make them so. Mirroring the actions of others makes one more convincing. Imitating body language subtly can do wonders for building connection and persuasion. Without either party even realizing it, this non-verbal mirroring communicates alignment and attentiveness. If you want to make your listener feel more understood and open to your ideas, try mirroring. It works in sales, negotiations, and even just regular conversation. When subtle and unforced, the effect is at its most effective. Manipulativeness may be felt when imitation is forced. When it comes down to it, mirroring is just a reflection of empathy, a nonverbal exchange that supports spoken communication. Reshaping your brain is a lifelong process. The brain's ability to change and adapt in response to learning, experience, and injury is known as neuroplasticity. The frequency of use determines the strength of existing pathways and the rate at which new connections establish between neurons. This capacity for adaptation is at its peak throughout youth and persists until old life, allowing for things like the recuperation from strokes, the acquisition of new abilities, and the modification of habits. Subtle changes occur in the brain's architecture as a result of every novel experience, from making new friends to honing a skill. To a large extent, we shape our own thoughts and ideas. In the midst of intense emotion, your perception of time shifts. Time seems to slip away while you're in the middle of an emotional roller coaster. The brain absorbs more sensory information when we're stressed, which makes a situation seem longer when we look back on it. But when we're really into anything like a game or a movie, hours can seem to disappear in an instant. The brain's adaptive reactions to significant events cause time perception to be flexible, so key moments are observed and remembered. It explains how a few seconds of peril can seem like minutes and how a night of joy can vanish in an instant. Our minds contain enigmas that have eluded us thus far. Much remains unknown regarding the mind's inner workings, even after decades of study. Through the depths of emotion and memory to the very beginnings of awareness. It seems like every new finding unveils previously unseen layers of complexity. There is more to the mind than a mere set of operations. Here, reality, imagination, and dreaming all intertwine. We are not merely studying biology when we investigate it. We are also beginning to sketch the contours of the human condition. Many of its mysteries are still unsolved, but they encourage us to keep turning within, to the still depths that are always with us. We have reached the end of our mental voyage. We have walked along the calm boundaries of our self-awareness, explored our dreams and recollections, and followed the flow of our thoughts. In the wide interior landscape, each fact and reflection has become a glimmer, a gentle reminder that the mind is full of unfathomable wonders, even when there is no external stimulus. You may find that some of these thoughts have stuck with you. Maybe the gentle blur of sleep has already absorbed them. The joy of an evening spent adventuring is precisely that. Holding on to every detail is unnecessary. The riddle will be there, ready to be solved, when you return tomorrow. The following video is available for your viewing pleasure if you are currently conscious. If you're feeling sleepy, all you have to do is allow yourself to drift along with the soft murmur of your own mind. Good night and a restful sleep.